Alrighty, so about to do this tensioner pulley. So I got the new one from O'Reilly's here. So one thing that I've noted is that with this new one, when you try and rotate it, it doesn't rotate freely at all because it's packed with obviously new grease. But I would bet if this is the bad part, that when we pull this off, rotate it freely, it'll rotate and spin easily if the grease is gone, and that's what was causing the squeaking in the bearings.
How's it going?
It's good. Pulling off the tensioner pulley. Alright, tensioner pulley's on. Let's check for squeaks. Alright, so I think, it's obviously still squeaking, not the tensioner pulley, but what I did notice, what you might have noticed also if you're a well-versed Corvette guy, my harmonic balancer down there, the kind of brown looking pulley at the very bottom, which is essentially the crank pulley, it's got a pretty bad wobble to it, and that's a known issue on these LS1s. So I'm thinking when that thing's wobbling, it's causing the belt to squeak. And that's kind of, I think, where the noise is coming from, is just farther down there, and I think it's just squeaking on the sides of the belt when it, when it's wobbling back and forth. So that's a bummer, but it seems like that was going to need to be replaced anyways. So that will be a project for once I get the car back to my house in the garage. That's going to be a few days long project because you got to drop the power steering rack. So that'll be fun trying to do that. But I think for now the goal is still going to be to try and get this thing just going around the block for a little bit. Obviously I'm not going to push it very hard. I just want to see kind of how the transmission feels, how the clutch feels, and things like that. Alrighty, so before we take it out here, one thing that I wanted to do was I did fill all 4 tires up with air because they were a little bit low on air, and I wanted to come in and inspect the brake pads just to see if we had enough pad left. And it looks like, it's hard to tell on by showing you on camera, but by looking with the wheel still on here, it looks like there's still a good amount of pad left, especially on the fronts here. I'm guessing if there's pads on the this side, the pads on the other side will still be good. Pads in the back look really good as well. The only other thing that we've got to do before driving it, so what I'm going to do also is once I do this, I'm going to back it down the driveway, let it run for a while, and then top off the oil because that's something I still need to do. But before that, what I need to do is secure all the loose parts. I got to take these brake cooling ducts off, which they just come out really easily, and basically take off anything in the front here that could fall off. Obviously we're going to remove the hood and get that out of the way, but the other thing that I have to do before we drive it is kind of pull this front inner fender forward a little bit because it's rubbing. Obviously the impact hit right here, so this is fiberglass, so it kind of cracked this and pushed it back. So I'm just going to have to try and use some sort of zip ties to pull this fender forward so that this wheel won't hit this when I steer. Alright, don't laugh at me. I know this is really jerry-rigged, like roadkill style, but this will, I think, is what is going to work for the time being, as the guys from Cars and Cameras would say, for testing purposes only, just to get it around the block, just to see. And I also secured the headlight with zip ties instead of duct tape, since that's a little bit more secure and we're not relying on adhesive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the car on and just move the tires left and right and see if we have any interference still. I get in?
Andrew!
Whoops.
What happened?
I hit the fire extinguisher. Alright, so as you guys just saw, gave it a quick test drive, sounded really good, it felt good, the transmission felt good. I'm surprised how well and how fast I picked up stick again after not driving it in a while. I didn't stall it once, so I'm giving myself a nice pat on the shoulder there for that. I did launch the fire extinguisher though by accident on my hat. Probably saw that, or maybe you didn't. But I mean, it felt good. The transmission felt good, brakes felt good, it was going straight. No weird clunks or sounds as we went over bumps or anything. I mean, we just went around the neighborhood here very briefly, but I mean, it sounded great. The steering felt good, downshifts felt good, clutch felt good. I had a little bit of an issue just getting it into first, but I think that's just because I'm a noob at manual. But then another thing is, after driving it and letting it, you know, probably heat up a little bit more, that squeak has now gone away. But I don't know if it'll come back at higher RPM, so it's kind of just going to be one of those things where probably have to keep investigating it and changing different things to see if that helps. So I'm really happy to see that this thing ran and drove really well for the very first time. It's a big another checkbox off on the list here to make sure we didn't get a total junker here. So it's a good, solid running and driving car, and I'm really happy.
Completely gone.
I'm gonna give it a few revs to see if it comes back. Well, that's really odd. And the heads-up display again is working just fine. Like I said earlier, the only casualty of driving it was my hat here. That's where the fire extinguisher launched off. Luckily it wasn't in my face, so I'm gonna try and clean that off. But yeah, we brought the fire extinguisher with us just in case you know, anything happened. But the pin on my fire extinguisher must have fallen out, and my friend Zach was giving me a hard time about not having one in there, and so I paid the price. Luckily it didn't get too much all over in the inside of the car, so the cleanup there isn't too bad. It's just on my hat there. So that was a little bit of an experience there. But that's pretty much going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed the process of me getting it prepped to run and drive for the very first time on the streets here in the neighborhood. It felt really good, like I just said, so I'm really happy that the whole car mechanically feels really good. So next up will be getting this car over to my garage so it can be out of the driveway here, and I'll start tearing apart and seeing what we can do at the front end here, seeing what parts I need to order and everything else like that, and also doing that investigation of kind of like doing a once-over of the car and kind of pinpointing, you know, who the previous owner, what type of person the previous owner might have been, things like that, and kind of just showing you guys all the little pieces that I might have brushed over in the past few videos when I got the car. So thank you so much guys for watching this video. I hope you guys liked it. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you did, because there's a lot more crazy content to come. So I'll see you guys in the next one.
Oh.